Yeah, I can start? Okay, great. So that was 15 seconds, okay? 15 seconds is all you have as a pharma marketeer. Why do I say 15 seconds? Because that's how long a healthcare professional actually takes to make a prescribing decision. And a lot goes on in those 15 seconds. And I think in the industry, we like to think that the doctors are really rational and they really think about all the data that they have available to them. But the truth is, they are as irrational as the rest of us, okay? And by understanding what happens in those 15 seconds and the behaviors that then the healthcare professional actually does, we can actually help them do a better job. And the way we do that is to build brands that connect them emotionally to the patients that they have to treat. So I would like to do a little exercise with you guys. Please indulge me. I'd like you to close your eyes. Close your eyes. I'm not going to hypnotize you. It's not that kind of thing, okay? Close your eyes. And I'm going to say a word, and what I want you to do is put an image that you associate with that word in your brain, okay? Keep them closed. If you're walking down, keep your eyes open. That's not going to end well. So come in, keep your eyes closed, and the word is doctor. Keep your eyes closed. Keep your eyes closed. The word is doctor. Okay, keep the image in your head. Now you can open your eyes. Was it something like this that you kind of defaulted to? White coat? Yeah? White man? Stethoscope? Yeah? It's all the heuristics, yeah? And that is an example of what we call system one thinking, right? You just default. This is the way we live our lives all the time. System one, heuristics, doctor, man in a white coat with a stethoscope, okay? In fact, I've had 5 different people come up to me this morning and go, "You look like a doctor." I'm not a doctor, so you're safe because you asked me about whether I do medical examinations. No, I don't. But actually, the reality is doctors look a bit more like this. Real doctor, a real doctor. She's a GP in Leicester in the UK, okay? But this is an example of what I said is system one thinking. So just default. It's how we live our lives. It's all way too difficult if we exist on system two. So what am I talking about? So the system one, system two way of thinking was developed. There'll be a special prize for anybody who can tell me. Thinking fast, thinking slow. There you go. Would you like a copy? You have a copy already. Yeah, right, we all are, exactly. So this is it. It's not just me up here asserting this is system one, system two. This is from Daniel Kahneman. Daniel Kahneman was a Nobel Prize winner, okay? So pretty detailed stuff, right? And he identified system one and system two thinking. It's a very good book. It's very detailed, but it's very, very good. I do recommend it. So coming back to system one, it's fast, it's subconscious, it's automatic, it's emotionally driven, and other things besides. And this is where we live our lives all the time, right? This is our brain just being lazy. Just sitting there, just make some stuff up, just take decisions. System two is harder. Our brain doesn't really want to do this, right? It's much, much more difficult. It's slower. You have to really think. You have to make a lot of effort, and it's very rationally driven. But where do we think pharma, as an industry, thinks that healthcare professionals spend most of their time? You can shout it out, Rob. Two, yeah, right. They're doctors, they're trained, and it's all about rational prescribing, and yeah, you know what, if we just give them more data, you know what, they'll just believe. They'll just believe. It's just not true. We heard an earlier talk about, from Wayne, about how doctors are bombarded by brands all the time, the Teslas, the Nespressos. Just because they put on the metaphorical white coat doesn't mean to say that all get switched off. So they exist most of the time in System 1. Now, new data, new products, yeah, you've got to really engage. Over time, it just does this. Yeah, I've got a patient with hepatitis B. I just prescribed that. So I just want to illustrate a little point a little bit more. In your head, what I want you to do is read out the color of the word, starting in the top left, in your head. How's it going? Slowed down yet? Yeah? Talking about here? Yeah? Starts to get hard? Yeah. So that is an example of, you like, lazy brain, red, blue, orange, oh, hang on, suddenly it's got difficult. And that's an example of you having to flip between System 1 and System 2 thinking. And as I said, we don't like doing this. It's a lot of effort. Like, you actually burn more calories doing this because you really have to think. But Pharma tends to think that by selling statistics and selling more numbers and more data, we're actually helping the doctors. Now, I'm here really to say that brands and the development of brands are amazing for doctors. They are a decision hack, okay? If you can, over time, build brand awareness so that the doctor emotionally connects to your brand, when they have a patient, they will make the right prescribing decisions. And I think that, unfortunately, Pharma has kind of lost sight of this. I was sitting in the sessions this morning, and I was counting how many times the word brand was either mentioned or put on the screen. So the sessions were, let's say, from 9 until 10:30. How many times do you think brand was said or put on the screen? 3 times. 3 times. And they were all in the same presentation, and it was Wayne's, okay, because he talked about brand in the Matrix. And this is it's such a miss. It's such a miss. Brands are amazing. We are bombarded by brands all the time, and we connect to them. But over the years, I think Pharma has lost sight of that. And I really want to convince you why we should re-engage with brand building. Now, we all know in this room how powerful brands can be in our normal lives, okay? The cars we drive, where we go shopping, the coffee, blah, 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 blah. But there are brands we know where we have an emotional connection to. All right, pop quiz. What's Ozempic for? Shout it out. What's it used for? Diabetes. Okay, if I ask the general public, what would they say? Exactly, right? An example of a brand, and I would argue this, that's lost a GLP-1. Any Novo in the house? Any Lilly in the house? Any GLP-1s in the house? No, okay. Yeah, so we in the industry know this is the UK indication, because I'm from the UK. But yeah, in the popular consciousness, it's all about weight loss. What drug is for weight loss that Novo sells? Wegovy, yeah, exactly. And it's got to a point where Ozempic, influencers are saying, oh, I lost 50 pounds on Ozempic, and it's jokes on South Park and blah, 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 blah. And most people cannot really tell you what it's for. Now, we are much better informed. And if you lose control of the brand, that can actually start to hurt you. But Mounjaro, which is arguably Ozempic and Wegovy's main competitor, they've really tightened up. They've got a very nice brand narrative, and they've got control of it. So we know that brands make a difference. But I think what's happened over the years is, for many different reasons, brand building has kind of fallen out a little bit of favor. And what we've seen, and we see it here, is a lot of performance marketing. And what I really mean by performance marketing is omni-channel, data, the use of AI, blah, 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 blah. Now, these are 2 sides of the same marketing coin. You cannot do this well if you don't have this, and you can't do this well if you don't have that, right? I will die on the hill for that, so if anybody wants to challenge me, I'm all ears. And it's not just me saying that. You see, I've even got props. Look, the long and the short of it. If you've not read the long and the short of it, this is a admittedly non-Pharma example that really expands on how building brands over the long term really adds value, as well as doing short-term performance marketing. Now, I think there are a number of reasons why performance marketing is in the ascendance. You can measure it really easily. Now, we can all sit here and say, oh, I've got this click rate. Great, so what? But it's something that senior execs really like to do. So what's the ROI on this? Oh, yeah, well, I've got this click rate, I've got all these views, blah, 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 okay? It's very seductive to think because you're measuring something, you're demonstrating ROI, okay? Brand building just takes longer. Arguably, it takes, I would say, probably 8 years, and you want to be starting in phase 2. Why do I say phase 2? Because that is when your key opinion leaders or KEEs, depending on what you call them, that's when they start talking about your product. It doesn't even have a brand name at this point, in most cases. But they'll start to form opinions. They'll start engaging system 2 in your ad boards. And over time, they'll become lazy like everybody else. And they'll drift over to system 1. So building brands takes time. So really what I'm calling for here is do this, but do more of this. And it takes time, and it takes conscious effort. And if you do this, you will generate more revenue for the company. And I'm going to be that blunt about it, okay? I think in pharma there's a lot of BS talked about patient centricity, and it's all about... Pharma companies exist to make profit, right? This is the reality of it, okay? We shouldn't shy away from it. If we do it well, we're treating patients, right? That's brilliant. But let's not shy away that we are commercial beasts. Now, what kind of things do you need to build great brands? I'm going to choose you because we've already spoken about it. Shout out. What are one of the things that you need to do, Bill Break?
You need to identify a human truth.
A human truth. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Otherwise, it's an insight. Right? You need to understand what the customer is feeling, thinking, doing, and why they are doing this. Okay. So I'll come on to an example of insight generation in a sec. And this is a word a bit like strategy and a bit like consulting, and by the way, I am a strategy consultant, so watch out, that often means different things to different people, okay? So insight can mean lots of different things. You hear it bandied around, okay? What I mean is a unique truth, a unique truth. How you get there is it can be a combination of data. You can get that from your performance marketing. Brilliant, okay? You can look at people's behavior. You can do primary market research, okay? But if you don't have this insight, you are going to struggle to build a really, really compelling brand. And again, it's something that I feel pharma has kind of lost sight of, okay? In pharma, in the room out there, we've got data and we've got AI and blah, 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 and Omni this and multi-channel. What was the other one I learned today? Opti-channel. That's new to me, transparently, new. All these things have a place, but this should be the foundation. Wayne mentioned it in his presentation. If you noticed, he had the flywheel, and right on the left-hand side was build the brand. Okay, so it's foundational. Now, excuse me, I want to illustrate an example. Okay, we've all heard of this. This is not a test, right? We've all heard of Viagra. Viagra, as I think we all know, basically developed the erectile dysfunction market. And obviously, it's a growing market, and other companies wanted in on it. So Lilly bought out Cialis. Okay, this, along with Ozempic, is one of these brands that just transcends the public consciousness. Right? Everybody knows about Viagra. Back in the early noughties, when I was a younger man, I used to go clubbing. I know, hard to believe. And people used to come up to me and go, "Do you want some Viagra, mate?" I was like, "No, I'm good." But it was that level, right? But Cialis, they realized that they needed to understand a truth, okay? And the insight that they gained was from the patient and their partner. What they wanted was not just sex, they wanted intimacy. It's a completely different angle. And that insight unlocked this brand, transformed it, and actually, in most markets, made it more successful than Viagra. So that's a real example of how you get great insights. You can actually outcompete a well-established and very well-established brand name in your market. So once you've got your brand and your brand strategy, you then need to work very closely, depending on how you're structured, with your digital marketing team, your CX team, whatever the team it is you are part of, because they are two sides of the same coin, right? Getting that data, feeding it back in, you do the annual brand planning cycle, you're going to learn stuff, you're going to develop that insight, and you're going to continually shape the brand. So there needs to be more partnership between brand building and omni-channel. But you do need a brand, okay? You might be... Who here actually works in pharma and is not a vendor? Stick your hand up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Are you on the more technical side, customer experience, or are you on the more brand side, or just you do everything? Commercial, customer experience, commercial. Commercial. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay, so question for you. Do you feel you do this, build brands? Yeah? No? Why not? It's a loaded question. I won't make you answer. I won't make you answer. Yeah, and I think a lot of it is just fallen out of favor. But they're so important. We've seen it here. You can build amazing brands. So I'm conscious of time, and I've got a couple of minutes left. I want to leave you with a couple of call to action, right? Marketing. I'm a marketer, call to action. I used to be a rep as well, so watch out. I might come and sell to you later. What I want you to do, I'd love you to go out and generate true insight. The why people do things. Why do they do things? You don't know. A lot of AI will tell you what they do, when they do it, and who does it, but it won't tell you why. And that behavior will help you unlock your brand. Secondly, build brands. We live them day in, day out. Pharma's kind of fallen out of favor of it, but they're two sides of the overall marketing coin. And use it to help HCPs. I talked about 15 seconds. That's all you've got. They are super, super busy people, and bluntly, they don't give a shit about you, okay? They don't. But by communicating to them in a way that makes sense, that taps into that system one, it's a decision hack, right? You then enable them to make better decisions for your patients. So remember, you have 15 seconds. That's all you've got. Make it count. Thank you. All right, questions, debate, disagreements.
So, when you say building brands and it takes 8 years, why wasting it on building a brand for my individual product?
Why would you waste it?
Yeah, why not building a brand for the company behind the product?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, so that's a strategic choice. You can do portfolio branding, you can do corporate branding. I would argue that if you're going to do corporate branding, your company has to be very aligned in terms of the products and the therapy areas it works in. So, for example, if all you do is, I don't know, gastrointestinal health, it probably behoves you to actually build that. But if you're doing everything, then how does that resonate in the mind of the customer? So if you're AstraZeneca, for example, you work across multiple TAs. Yeah?
Why not? I mean,
Why not? It's not, yeah?
I think the only reason why a HCP will not feel hacked is if you make your last appointment, right? You want to help them,
Yeah.
right? And then, like, if you build your brand on that, it will help you in any market that
Yeah.
that you have products in. And I always do a little game when I meet a doctor. I always ask them whether they know what the company is that sells the products they use on every day.
Yeah.
Most of the time they don't, right? And I meet a lot of doctors. My wife is one, so
Yeah.
you can imagine, like, everywhere just doctors and they just don't know. And I think it's always, like, I fully agree. Brand building, great, must be done more.
Yeah.
I think that if you say 8 years, I mean, either you get the medical guys to agree on brand building, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Or you need to take another exit.
Yeah, so it does take time. If you start in phase 2, like you are starting to build it, it can be short-circuited, but it does take a long time. You know, the brand of Tesla. Okay, anyone got Tesla in the room? Yeah. Oh, who said that? Who went, ooh? Oh, it said boo. Yeah, okay, there is an example of a brand that is having a tough time. Like, we don't need to go why, but I think we all understand why, okay? But yeah, so it can take time. But if you don't, and I know you're not saying this, but if you don't do it, you're just not creating much value. You're just making the doctors work a lot harder. Yeah. I refer you to this, the long and the short of it, right? So it's a non-pharma example.
Yeah, so because like 20 years ago, something, I was kind of triggered, and I still believe in it, is that there's a master-slave relationship between our products and the end user.
Yeah.
It's never nice to be ill, to have something that is not right.
Yeah.
So there's never a nice Apple, Tesla, not okay, boo,
Yeah.
Nespresso. We will never be that brand for the end consumer.
Yeah.
A doctor, with all of his choices, with his palette of medicine, and so I'm still a little bit like, so if we build brands too aggressively, there might be a response from doctors to stop it, because I'm
Yeah.
treating patients. So yeah.
So you can piss doctors off by building brands wrong. Absolutely. Yeah, too aggressive. You're not giving them a great customer experience, right? Just by beating them over the head. Yeah, completely agree. It is a delicate balance. My argument about return on investment, which I think you're sort of asking, like, what's the value? I would argue most things we do are extremely difficult to demonstrate return on investment. Extremely difficult, because you can't disaggregate it. Like reps, super expensive. On-the-road cost of a rep in Europe, 200k euros, 250 maybe. Prove to me that you deliver return on investment. It's almost impossible, but it is an article of faith in the industry that reps sell. And when you bring in new stuff, some senior leader will be sitting there going, you need to tell me what the ROI is on that. And most things, it's extremely difficult. You've got to try things. So there's a narrative around innovation, which is up to you. At the back.
Where do you see the importance of brands in like an agentic era when brands can't buy eyeballs anymore?
Yeah. So there's a real Scott Galloway and Rory Sutherland were on a podcast called the Uncensored CMO, and these are, as I see them, the gods of marketing. They talk exactly about this, right? Are brands even relevant anymore? Because you don't necessarily operate on the heuristics. If you want something, you just go to an influencer or the equivalent of TripAdvisor, and does it, this is what I should do. I would say that's potentially the case outside of pharma, but we saw earlier that pharma's been doing customer experience for 25 years. I'm pretty sure we could be comfortable that brand building, even in an AI world, will still be something we'll be working on in 10 years. One note of caution about using AI at a sector level. So if you look at the luxury goods market, you will have seen, or you might have seen, or maybe it's just my geeky self, the logos of the brands, Chanel, Boss, etc. The font size is converging, right? Why? Because all the companies are getting data from customers that are telling them, that's what I like. But if you keep doing that, they all become meaningless and you destroy the brands. Yes?
I think it's going to be even more powerful to look at the brand strategy in an agentic era because like brands don't just find information, they have to also choose.
Yeah.
And I think that you'll find that customer or AI centricity around customers, HCPs, patients looking for information will be what is referenced, or PR will play a bigger role within brand, where KOLs will play a bigger role because it will need that reference from what customers prefer, and then brands within loyalty I think play a bigger role in that.
Yeah. I'm getting buzzed and basically told to get off the stage because we're at time. Thank you for your engagement. Thank you for coming. If you want to talk about brands, clearly I love it. Look forward to the conversations.